Hello everybody, and thanks for tuning in to the video. My name is Carl Hansen. I gave essentially the same presentation at the two services on June 14th, the 9 and the 11:15 service, and this is a bit of an expanded presentation giving a little more detail. The main topic, the title, is Invitation to Lead. St. Matthew's is embarking on at least an attempt at a different leadership model, a different way of constructing our way we run the church. Currently we have a church council which also feeds off of various subcommittees in a rather disconnected fashion. We don't have that many congregation members that can fill all the all the committee structures. So we like to change that. We like to change that model. I am currently the chairman of the Permanent Endowment Committee and will be certainly through 2020, I hope. But I'm not chairman of this new model, or I'm not in charge of it. I'm just the one spreading the information as a representative of Church Council. We hope this video is not too dry, and we certainly know it's not going to frighten you off. And we hope it actually energizes you and in the hope that it would actually make you motivated to want to be part of this new leadership team. We're looking for that energy and that dedication. So in advance, again, thank you for listening to this. Hope you get some information from this, and more importantly, as I said, motivation maybe would stem from this also. So without further ado, the discussion of leadership model for St. Matthew's.
St. Matthew's United Methodist Church, invitation to lead. So we talked how we're going to reinvent and run our church and rehabbing a broken system. Best to first discuss how the organization currently is. The organization currently is a single church council, and there are various subcommittees that are scattered about it that report to it and give input to it. And that is the basic structure. There's some other minor attributes, but knowing that is a good start. There's also the Parsonage Committee. That is a committee that is tasked with overseeing the pastor's home, which is located in Kenner. There is the individual, a financial secretary, who is involved with a lot of things regarding pledges, etc. There's also another individual who is the treasurer, rather obvious. And then we have an individual who's a lay leader for annual conference, and then the lay leader in general. So that's the basic structure overall, administratively, of who does most of the stuff related to the church. There are others, but we're going to use this as a basic structure. But besides the administrative components of the church, the backbone of the church is our worship, it is our nurture, and in our missions. Those are the things that we should be doing as disciples. However, a church is a $300,000 a year organization, so it needs administration. So let's condense all those administrative aspects into one. And so you see a simplified graph here. So this is administration in all one blue box, and then you have the other work teams, discipleship activities, if you will, that are out there. This is a fair representation, and unfortunately, it's a fair representation. You see how heavy the administrative component is of our church. We need to flip that. This needs to occur. Administration needs to be more efficient, more condensed, more in keeping with the balance of what a church should be. We need to, in doing reduction of administrative overhead, is to allow worship to grow, allow nurture to grow, and allow mission to grow. Those, again, are what makes our church, not the administration. The administration runs the mechanics of our church. To give you an example of committee membership, we have all these committees you see listed here that we're required to have under our current system. And let me just take, for example, the third one, Finance Committee. It requires 9 people. That's how we're supposed to have 9 people on Finance Committee. But that doesn't also include, we also have to add 4 other committee chairs, the pastor, a lay leader, and a lay conference rep. So you can see that even though 9 are to be populated, there are several more that are actually supposed to be part of it. And you can just look at the numbers on the left for all the committees, and you can see how many there are. But let's take a bigger picture. Let's look at the numbers. 57 committee spots to fill. So if you added all the numbers from the previous slide, there are actually 57 spots that a nominating committee has to fill. So this is not including all those other ones that, such as the lay leader, etc., that have to attend these committees. Those are just the other warm bodies that need to be on this. And as you can tell from the size of our congregation, that many people could be the same ones. So you could be on one committee and on another committee. There's not enough people who are willing to fill committee spots to go around. The pastor is supposed to attend all four of these, to attend 4 of these committee meetings. And imagine that. The pastor's job is ministerial. It's the spiritual portion of the church. Quite distracting to have to grind through multiple committees scattered throughout the month. The lay leader and lay conference rep also have to attend 3 or 4. So here are the numbers in reality. 57 need to be there, but it's probably about 25, maybe 30% of individuals actually participate in committees. The chairperson of each committee does most of the work. The committees are isolated from each other. They do not meet at the same day. Most of the time, they don't really know when they're meeting relative to the other committees, and they can be out of sync. There's multiple committee minutes. So whenever there's a committee meeting, there needs to be a written record of the meeting, which means that there's 4 or 5 records of minutes. So if an individual is trying to track some decision making down, some motion, some activity, they have to rifle through tons of different pages. Completely inefficient. The biggest part about this, though, is that the same people are all on the same committees a lot, over and over again, serving multiple committees at a time. And if they're on one committee, sometimes that means they're obligated or supposed to be on other committees. This leads to fatigue and burnout. You find this all around the area, no exception to a committee system. More insidiously is a person who's on multiple committees becomes having a mindset of that of a professional committee person and loses some of the ministerial or even spiritual aspect of being part of St. Matthew's, when so much energy is strictly directed towards administration. This is just a quick outline about the functional reality of the subcommittee system. This is an example where trustees, let's say, meets January 2nd, and they make a decision which they have to forward to council, which meets January 23rd. Big council decides, yeah, this is fine. Let's push this to finance to see if money's available. And then it gets sent someplace else. So sometimes a simple decision made in early January doesn't actually come to fruition until late February. Very frustrating and highly inefficient, and people suffer from that. So to define the problems now. So if we're going to change something, we need to define where the problems are. The problems are it's difficult to find people for all these committees. And if you are on this committee, you're likely on some other committee. Most people simply recycle with no break. They go from one committee to the next. Or maybe they're on a work team or a mission team or nurturing or grief share, but they have to be on other committees. And that's not what their energies are, is to be on a committee. And it's not enticing for other people to get involved. I think that's one of the big issues. We would love to have the congregation just intimately involved with a lot of stuff going on, but a lot of people are scared to even be part of the committee structure, and that needs to be changed. Many don't want to, even if you're on a committee, if person is going to be on a committee, they may not want to be the chairperson of the committee. So that committee has no body who really wants to be a leader. The pastor, as I mentioned, has to attend 4 of these meetings, and that takes quite a bit of time. Quite a bit of time for somebody to spend 4 nights doing that, where they're also spending other evenings doing other activities that are more spiritual or ministerial. And there's no unified vision with all these fractured committee meetings and leadership, and who knows where the buck stops. Technically, it's at the council level, but there's so much disconnected decision making. So there's a proposal to reorganize. It's going to be based on accountability and simplicity. The solution, adopt the congregational model. Now, this is nothing that we invented. We did thoroughly research this through other congregations throughout the country, and especially for smaller size churches, this fits them to a T. The congregational model is what our council has adopted. The basis of this model is that it eliminates multiple subcommittees, which is, you understand the benefit of that. It also encourages others to be part of a coherent, efficient system. A big factor that if you find out that the mess that we call the current structure is not there, and you can safely volunteer to be part of this leadership board or take some other activity on, that you're not going to be captured into this trap of subcommittees. Our solution then is to create this leadership team or board. We'll call it the board. The leadership board, it's a single team. It's not multiple leaders. It's not multiple committees. Yes, this single team may form an ad hoc group that has tasked to do something or some specific activity, but that is not the core of this group. It's one meeting a month, maybe more, but it's one meeting for sure. Maybe an emergency meeting if necessary, but that would be highly atypical. If we discuss employees, then of course it's not an open meeting and just the committee will meet. There's no subcommittees, so if you are not on a committee and you want to know what's going on, there is a single place to go to find out what really is going on, what motions were made, what bylaws were passed, etc. Fairly simple. It's 12 members. Now the pastor is part of this committee, which would be a 13th, but the pastor is a non-voting member. These 12 members, however, there's a 3-year rotating membership. So it's not 12 people on it for 3 years and then a different 12 3 years later. After every year, 4 people rotate off, and the nominating committee picks 4 new people. So we have turnover, but we still have 8 people who are still on the committee who have not turned over, so that adds continuity. And this, again, is populated by the nominating committee, which meets at the end of every year to determine committee activities. Right now, the nominating committee has to go through the Herculean effort of trying to see if they can fill 57 committee member spots. They can't, and for the longest in my memory, they never have been able to. Not their fault, it's just the numbers game. And also this board is tasked with vision and accountability. The board is not micromanaging. The board is not telling the pastor, you have to give this sermon, or music director, you have to play this song. That micromanagement is not part of this. It's the overall administrative running of the church and setting a vision and creating accountable principles. The overview. I think this is important. This isn't specific to the board, but remember, we as a congregation, we're the primary ministers of the church. Yes, we have a pastor who is our minister, but we are the disciples that go out. So we have to be prepared for that. The board I'm referring to, it establishes these guiding principles for the pastor's leadership. The board sets what we want to do for the church. The pastor follows those principles. The board steers the church administratively. The board does not tell the pastor what sermon to give. The pastor is to lead the church to accomplish the mission that the board and pastor decide upon. Pastor steers the church spiritually, what they were educated for. The staff is accountable to the pastor, and the staff works under the pastor, but the board does add guidelines. So far, where we are in this process, Church Council has, in fact, approved the Congregational Model. So it is in process. That is why I'm speaking to you today. Some current council members have volunteered to be on the new board. It's not mandatory, so not all council members are going to be part of the board. I'm sure a lot of them are they're glad to take a break from the grind of the subcommittee system. I cannot blame them. There are others who are not on the council who have volunteered to be on the board, and to them we thank you profusely. The district superintendent over us has been consulted and informed. I've done that myself personally. The board, let you know, does not exist at this time. There is no board formed. We don't have all the people. Nominating committee hasn't selected anybody. No rules have been assembled about when we're going to meet next, etc. When we do decide to meet, when we are officially formed, then what we used to know as church council will dissolve. I reiterate that I am currently the PEC chairman, and me proposing this model is in no way having myself want to become the chairman of this board, if there is such a thing. So it's It's a collaborative effort. So here's what the council would like to know. Here's what the current church leaders would like to know. We would like congregational input. That's going to be very important. We want people's opinions. If somebody in the congregation sees that they find something that would be additive or something that should be changed, the whole point of this is to be all ears and to bring all ideas to the table. Approval and acceptance. We would like the congregation also to approve of this model and to accept it, maybe even to the point of voting on it. This is not something to ram down somebody's throat, but this is to encourage and make it more enticing for congregation members to be part of this invitation to lead. And we would also like, wait for it, here comes the shameless begging part, members for the board. We really are interested in getting people to express interest and volunteer for this board. We think it's going to be exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of energy. You're not going to be drained by everything else. Things will happen more efficiently. You'll be able to see progress. You'll be able to be part of making a vision for this church. So I think it'll be very exciting. Yes, we're looking for members. So now is your opportunity to help run St. Matthew's United Methodist Church, to help craft a more efficient, streamlined, and more discipleship-driven church. Also, your opportunity to help improve the administration. Whatever skill sets you have, whether it's accounting or legal or medical or anything, the board would love to have that skill set on board to provide expert opinion. It's your opportunity to be part of a rebirth. We're not throwing everything out, but there's certainly a change, and it would be exciting to be part of this. And it's also your opportunity to be part of this without being sucked into this committee black hole, where you become wrung out, burned out, and fatigued, and never want to see a church committee ever again as long as you live. So if you're interested, please contact Kay in the office. We'll use her as a central repository of people who are interested. If you're interested, that doesn't mean you're hooked on. That simply means that we'll contact you if you need to discuss it further. If you're interested, at least that gives us a general idea of how many people are really interested in being part of the leadership portion of our church, so that we may grow the nurture, worship, and mission component. Contact anyone from Church Council, or you be welcome to email me at khansonmd@gmail.com. I'll answer you back. So for just a brief info on some extended information, let's just recap this. Here's our goals. Here's our goals with this new board. We want to unburden the congregation from administration. We want fewer meetings and less red tape. We want the allowed congregation to grow spiritually. As I mentioned, we want the little red boxes, nurture, mission, worship, to expand. We want to provide the environment and opportunity for that expansion. We want to improve efficiency. We want to improve accountability, reduce clutter, improve flow, improve timeliness of response. We want to encourage congregational participation. And of course, we want to equip the congregation for ministry, not just tell them that they are more free to do it, but we want to give the congregation any resources or backing or energies that might be necessary to help them carry out our discipleship. The board style, in summary, getting to the end here, it's an outward vision rather than an internal micromanage. Again, we're not going to tell what kind of lights need to be hung. We're looking for diversity of viewpoints and entertain ideas. 12 people, 13 people total on the board. We ought to be able to really shell out some really great ideas. We want strategic vision over just the detail. We don't want to henpeck at little things. We want to see where we're heading. Where's our rudder? Anticipate, not react. We want to define the roles of what we do compared to the staff. We want collective decision making, and that we would obey whatever we vote on. We will get the energies behind that collective decision. And we want unity and confidentiality. So in finishing, or in conclusion, as I say, please consider if you'd like to be part of this board. Let us know. We're hoping that we have a lot of interest and enthusiasm, and even if there's more than 12 people that reply, then maybe it would be rotated a year from now or involved with some other component. We need 12 people that are committed to bringing ideas and making decisions. This is not simply to form a clique or to eavesdrop what's going on. This is to be active participants in the ideas, and people who feel free to come up and spend time with their thoughts and voicing their ideas. Willing to be on time. We want this board to be efficient, on time. If people have reports, we'd like to have people prepare their reports before the board meeting and share that with board members. Preparation ahead of time is a big component of efficiency and thoroughness of ideas. And willing to help with develop a mission and vision. Willing to step back and really look at the big picture about where we want to go, what it is that you see. How do we want to look at our local climate and environment to determine where we want to focus. So we want also to assist. We really want to be part of assisting with the system to enhance the mission, nurture, and the worship teams and all the other work teams, etc., that contribute so much to what we do. So if you can, let us know by Wednesday, June 24th, 2020. Let Kay know or myself know, or anybody from Church Council, and they can pass it along. We want you. That's in finish what we want. We want to see participation, enthusiasm, input, acceptance, approval, ideas. So please contact us if you're interested in serving on this board so we can get this ball rolling and get further approvals down the line.
Okay, so you made it through the end of the presentation. I'm glad you stayed with us. Hopefully you staying with us did a couple things. One is educated you more about how things work at St. Matthew's and why we would like to change things. And the second thing is that hopefully from this you'll find, hey, this is a pretty good concept. I would like to be a part of this. This is my church. I want to put my energy and some effort into it. But I want to do it where I'm not going to be trapped in all kind of other subcommittee structures. So we hope that this helps motivate you and really piques your interest. If you don't want to be it, that's fine, that's great. But if you do, please let us know. We need to know at least that we have the people interested who want to be part of the structure to help lead the church going forward. So once again, thank you for listening. Let myself or Kay or anybody know, or anybody from Church Council know if you have some interest, and at least we can start from there. Okay, thank you again for listening. Bye.